Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Strategoi video. Ryan here, continuing the series. We've got another Order army checking off today, and that'll be the Daughters of Khaine. We still have yet to see a number of armies, especially those of Jonas, the ones he plays. We've got a hint down here that says, make sure to bring a telescope to gaze into the etheric void. I actually don't get this reference all that well. There's a part of me that thinks this would be for Seraphon because they're kind of like spacefaring lizard people from before, the time that was, whatever. I guess there's also a part that kind of sounds like with a telescope sounds like cities, but we've already had them. Obviously, Stormcast live in a Seer, but we've had them as well. I guess in a sense, like Slaanesh is trapped in Ulgish or whatever, so that's like out in space, I guess, or in some kind of in between. You could have chaos just in general, like Slaves to Darkness. I don't know, maybe. And then I suppose you could see maybe Lumineth because I don't know, telescopes are used by wizards perhaps looking into the stars, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's Seraphon. Let me know down below if you guys have a strong opinion about this based off of the lore. I'm assuming this pops up in the lore and isn't something that gets referenced a whole lot in game, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, we have a number of armies left to go, but we're more than halfway done, so we're kind of nearing the end. In Destruction, we only have Ogre Maw tribes left. In Death, we have Soulblight Gravelords. In Chaos, we still have Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Slaves. And then in Order, like I mentioned, we have Seraphon, we have Lumineth, and we have Sylvaneth, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the whole list after we're done today. But yeah, let's get on to some Daughter stuff. In the meantime, guys, just don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe, and join us in the Discord or the comments below. Okay, so Daughters of Khaine, we've got 2 new War Scrolls and no Battle Tome, or GHB, update. That's going to be for Krethusa the Crone Seer, which was the unit that was kind of like added in the expansion of Daughters during, I want to say, the Dawnbringer Crusades. Interestingly, she has one of the highest points raises we've seen thus far. At time of recording, the War Scroll is 150 points, so it's going up 90 whole points, which is quite a huge jump. So I'm expecting to see some really impactful rules. But she can still take 0 to 1 Coven Matriarch, that's the Italics hero, and then any elf. And then we also have the Bloodwrack Shrine. If you're not aware, the Shrine kit can be built 3 different ways. One is a Cauldron of Blood with the Hag Queen, or another with the Slaughter Queen on top. And then you can also build it with the Bloodwrack Medusa, the wizard that isn't a priest, and that's the Bloodwrack Shrine. So anyway, this will probably continue to be wizard-oriented, I would assume. Points right now are 200, so it's going up 30 points. Still takes 0 to 1 Coven Matriarch, and then any Daughters of Khaine. It stays on the same base. So let's go take a look at those War Scrolls. Okay, so Krethusa. I'll be honest, I haven't followed her trajectory all that well since she first came out. I love the model. I think the model is really cool, but I haven't seen her on the table a whole lot. And I know that originally the rules were a little bit like, I feel like they were a little bit like Kairos's, where they kind of played a meta game with battle tactics or something like that, but then those quickly got changed. So I'm going to have to refresh myself as to what she now does in 4th edition, and then what this version is going to do. So taking a look at the wheel first, we've got a 12-inch move, 6 health, 2 control, 5 up save, and then the 6 up ward is universal to all Daughters of Khaine, if I'm not mistaken, and that just got moved up to the top as well as staying down below, like the War Scroll cards that we've seen the whole time, and the what we're seeing in the Soulblight as of the Soulblight book. If we look down at the keywords, we've got unique, hero, priest 1, but now going to priest 2, so she gained a priest level. That's cool. Infantry, fly, ward 6+, order, Daughters of Khaine, elf. So that's one of the first changes we've seen there. That's an easy one to miss if you're not paying attention to the rest of the stuff on, the keywords, I guess, because they kind of bury that like power level down below. Okay, as far as the weapons are concerned, she's had the Staff of Morai Heg, but it looks like it got boosted. It has been 4 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1 d3, so she got +1 attack there, and crit auto wound. So that's nice. Yeah, nice little buff. I don't know how often you're trying to get her into combat. I mean, she'll die to a swift breeze with only 6 health, 5 up save, 6 up ward. So probably not trying to do that a whole lot. But anyway, let's take a look at the abilities that were on the War Scroll from the index. So we had a once per turn, any hero phase ability, and then your hero phase was her prayer. War Scroll Prayer. So anyway, once per turn, any hero phase burnt offerings. If this unit is within the combat range, so 3 inches of a friendly Cauldron of Blood, and remember, the Bloodwrack Shrine, though it's the same kit, is not a Cauldron of Blood, pick a visible, friendly Daughters of Khaine elf non-hero infantry unit. Wow, okay, so Daughters of Khaine faction, elf is going to be the, like, not snakes, not harpies, units. Non-hero, so now the heroes fall out of that, and then infantry. I'm pretty sure most of the elf units are also infantry. There might be some exceptions there, like Doomfire Warlocks, of course, but I think for the most part, they are infantry anyway. So anyway, you're picking a visible friendly unit of that sort, wholly within 18 of this unit to be the target. Remember, this is once per turn, any hero phase. Because she's unique, it's just flat out. It might as well say once per turn army, but it doesn't need to. Roll a dice on a 2+, pick one of the following effects. So you've got 3 different effects. Prophecy of Silence. Until the start of your next turn, enemy units cannot use commands while they are in combat with the target. So ideally, you would put this, oh gosh, I mean, you would want to put this maybe on like melee snakes, but because they're not elf, as far as I'm aware, you would have to put these on like witch elves or Sisters of Slaughter, which like to be in combat, but they don't like to get hit, so they really need to attack first. But turning off commands is nice. Okay, Prophecy of Dark Wings. The target can use the normal move ability, this is in any hero phase, by the way, as if it were your movement phase. That unit counts as having a run ability, used a run ability this turn. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you can give run and charge somewhere in Daughters of Khaine, but Daughters players let me know, but I seem to remember that exists. But in any case, the fact that you could move like twice with that unit basically in a battle round plus another normal move, so like 3 normal moves worth of movement, is pretty nice. And then the last one, Prophecy of Reclamation. For the rest of the turn, while the target is contesting an objective, subtract 10 from the control scores of enemy units contesting that objective that do not have the hero or monster keyword. So I mean that's actually one of the better nerfs to objective control that I've seen. If you're only subtracting a couple points away, I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but and they do it to all of the enemy units standing on there that are not hero or monster. And remember, down to a minimum of 1. You can't go lower than 1. So, you know, those abilities seem pretty flavorful, and the fact that it's modular, you know, it's got a wholly within 18-inch range. It's very specific about what types of troops can use it, but like, it's got some flexibility, and you can keep changing it every turn, so that's kind of fun. Okay, and then the prayer on the index version was Murder of Crows. It goes off on a 4, has the bonus effect on an 8. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18, so nice that you can just remember 18 is the threat range for Krethusa with the abilities, or at least the old version. Then make a chanting roll. So if it's successful, then you roll a d3. If the chanting rolls an A+, roll a d6 instead. Inflict amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. In addition, if the roll exceeds the target's health characteristic, subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target's attack until the start of your next turn. If you're rolling a d3, remember I'm pretty sure this is how that works, that the roll gets converted to literally a 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't look at what looks to be on the die, and then that gets compared to the target's health characteristic. So that means on a d3, you're only somewhat reliably getting this off, the -1 to hit, if they have a health characteristic of 1. And that only goes off 2/3 of the time. When you get to roll a d6, which you only are getting if you could have gotten the bonus ability, then obviously the same holds, but for a health characteristic of 1, you're looking at 5 out of 6 times, so 83%. Yeah, that's kind of an underwhelming spell. I mean, yeah, our prayer. I get why people maybe didn't think that was all that powerful, but the modular ability is cool. And of course, as a 1-level priest with the old version of the War Scroll, and of course at 150 points, She was adding some kind of value to the army for sure. Yeah, so let's take a look at what's changed. So we've got an enemy hero phase ability. That's the Crone Seer. Give this unit D3 ritual points. And that's kind of interesting because even though if you look at her prayer, she still has your hero phase here, which is obviously the same that we expect from all wizards and priests except for Vizic Scour from Skaven, who's the only one that I'm aware of that has any hero phase on his war scroll for his ability, his prayer ability, which means you get to do it for free in your opponent's hero phase, at least that one ritual. And then if you want, you could also do a magical intervention to do another prayer. But anyway, in lieu of having that, the Crone Seer has enemy hero phase, give this unit D3 ritual points, which is somewhat like getting to do. It's like getting a half version of casting it. Usually, obviously, you're rolling a D6 for your ritual or whatever, your chant, and then you only on a 1 are you losing any. So this is just giving you D3 no matter what. So you're getting at least 1, average 2, maybe as much as 3, which is nice. It's not the same as getting to roll for free in the other phase, but it's helping her get those ritual points up to help get not only this prayer off, but the prayers that are in the lore. And spoiler alert, but we're getting an extra prayer lore today too. So that's definitely helping you get to the bonus level for all of those. So whatever. Take a look at all the different prayers. We will as well today, and then think about what kind of implications that would have. But her War Scroll prayer goes off on a 3, and the bonus effect goes off on a 9. So Blood Ritual. Pick a visible friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry or cavalry unit holier than 12. So if we compare these keywords to the ones we just looked at on her existing index War Scroll, Daughters of Khaine, of course, elf, of course, infantry, but now expanding to cavalry, and no exception or limit on non-heroes, or that it has to be a non-hero. So now this could be a hero as well. So that's expanded a bit, but it's largely the same group. And the range is shorter now, holier than 12. Pick one of the following effects to apply to start your turn. If I skip to the bottom there, if the chanting roll was a 9+, all of the above effects apply. So that's kind of fun. So you could do enemy units cannot use commands while they're in combat with the target. Is that any different than what the other one said? Let's see. That was the Prophecy of Tyranny, and the other one was Prophecy of Silence. It still lasts until the start of your next turn, but it goes off automatically, so you don't have to roll. Oh wait, sorry. This wasn't a prayer before. This was a just regular ability that went off on a 2+. So now it does have to go off, but of course there's no unbinding for prayer, so that's nice. And getting a 3 is not all that hard, especially if you're saving up D3 ritual points. So in a sense, it's going off pretty much automatically. But of course, she's a 2-level priest at this point, which means maybe you're trying to also save those points up for another thing like is Murder Lust one of the prayers? I always forget if that's a spell or a prayer, but we'll come back to it and look at it shortly. Anyway, but that's similar, right? So the old version of the War Scroll had an ability that went off on 2+ to turn off commands while they're in combat with the target. And this one, the new version, it's part of the prayer. Okay, Prophecy of Shelter. Other than the companion ability, weapon abilities used by enemy units while they're in combat with the target have no effect. And for what it's worth, that means that even if they're targeting a different unit, it just if the unit she puts this buff on is in combat with a target enemy unit and they choose to attack a different unit, they wouldn't be able to use commands if you went that direction, or they wouldn't be able to use weapon abilities except for companion, which of course is a debuff. So it's turning it off regardless of who they end up attacking. So keep that in mind. That's strong. And then Prophecy of Retribution. Subtract 1 from ward rolls made for damage points inflicted by the target's combat attacks. So if they're going to something pretty tanky like Nurgle, or I suppose even Death with a 6+ ward, then you're putting that down to a save that isn't going to be nearly as good. And then, of course, if you get the 9+, then you're doing all 3. So imagine you've got a big block of Witch Elves, I guess 20 Witch Elves, whose opponent, the unit they're fighting, any units they split, they could even split their attacks up, and this would be true of all of them, can't use commands, so no auto defense, no auto attack. They lose all of their special combat abilities, and they're going to be at -1 to ward, which is pretty nice. Let's look at the other ability before I say whether I think this is worth the extra 90 points. Once per battle, your movement phase, it's a command ability because it has a 1 in the corner. Gift of Foresight. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine elf, infantry, or cavalry unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Set up a replacement unit with half the number of models, running a holy than 9 in battle edge and more than 9 from enemy units. So you've got a once per battle recursion for probably a block of Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter, the half of which would be 10. But it could be 5 Doomfire Warlocks that come back from a reinforced unit. Obviously strong, and I guess that's part of the points cost you're factoring in there. Now, granted, bring back a half a unit. You could look at that like, hey, I got an extra unit, right, for whatever that unit costs. I got that extra unit for a CP. And for the cost of this War Scroll, the new 90 points more expensive War Scroll. True, but they're going to come into the game later. They're going to come in on the board edge, so they're not going to be able to be used as much, except like, probably more for techie things like grabbing objectives or terrain pieces or whatever. We're going to be centered around in the new JHB. But obviously bringing back recursion is good. So I wouldn't exactly think of it as a one-for-one relationship of, oh, she's 90 points more expensive, and this is worth at least 90 points of a unit. Plus she gained a priest level. She got a little better in combat. The blood ritual arguably got better, depending on how you look at it. I kind of liked the fact that the old version of her, like, any hero phase ability, the once per turn ability that the rituals kind of like, I kind of liked that it was modular and could be changed every single turn. Granted, to be fair, you could pray this again, chant this again in the opponent's turn for a magical intervention. And that could be after you've already gotten your D3 ritual points in the enemy hero phase. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, and then you could have it on 2 different units. So I guess in that sense, it's stronger than the other one. I do think this is an upgraded War Scroll. I don't know if it means that everyone's going to be taking Krethusa all of a sudden, but obviously she's nice and fast. I kind of wish she had a unit, more units that she could kind of like follow around and be a part of, because like all of her, she's fast, which makes you think, oh, she's a great hero for following around the Harpies or even the Doomfire Warlocks. And between those two, the only one she can buff is the Doomfire Warlocks. She didn't used to be able to, now she can, so that's nice. But yeah, I don't know if you want to be putting those buffs on Doomfire Warlocks. It'd be nice if they expanded the range to have something that's counts as elves, but like kind of fits in her little cult or whatever. I guess that's supposed to be Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter. And to be fair, the Harpies, if you look at the models, are basically just Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter, one with a mask, one without, just with that have mutated or been blessed with wings or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I like it. What are the Daughters players at home thinking about this? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so on to the Bloodwrack Shrine. I've secretly had a Daughters army the whole time I've been playing, basically, but I just couldn't ever really, like Fire Slayers, these are my 2 armies that I kind of regret buying, and it's not that I don't think they're cool, it's just something about it doesn't feel like it's quite gotten there for me, and I keep holding out because I've always liked Dark Elves in general, so I keep holding out that maybe something's going to change when Malarian comes in or whatever, but I do actually like Daughters in theory, and I've wanted to, I've always thought that the Bloodwrack, Medusa, and Shrine were kind of fun, so let's see what they did with it. Like I said, it went up about 30 points, I think. Let's take a look at the War Scroll. So 6-inch move, 12 health, control 5, which it's not a monster, but it's just big, so it gets a better control score. That's nice. 4-up save and 6-up ward. That doesn't seem like anything changed there. If we look down at the keywords, Hero, War Machine, Wizard 2, so +1 power level. So both these got +1 power level. Nice. 6-up ward, Order, Daughters of Khaine, and Melusai. So not infantry, or sorry, not elf, because she's one of the snake ladies. Cool. I love that both of these got +1 power level. That's really fun. Okay, so taking a look at the output, we've got a ranged weapon, which was the Bloodwrack Stare before, and now is named the Bloodwrack Gaze. So before it was 12 inches, so we got +3 inches on it. Only 1 attack, so we got 4 times as many attacks now, so 4 attacks instead of 1. It hit on 2s. It had shooting combat, which it still does, but I'll go ahead and scroll down to the rule down below. The Bloodwrack Stare's rule was each time the unit attacks with the Bloodwrack Stare, if the attack scores a hit, roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the target unit. For each 5 up, inflict 1 mortal damage. You cannot pick the same enemy unit to be targeted by attacks made with a Bloodwrack Stare more than once per phase. Meaning, and I think this is the same rule that she has on the foot version of the hero as well. So if you had a bunch of them and spammed them, you'd have to target different units. So an anti-horde like shooting attack is pretty cool, especially that it had shooting combat. Really nice. But now let's see. So it's like I said, it went up 3 inches, 4 attacks instead of 1. It hits on 3s now, so -1 on that. Now it wounds on 3s, has 2 rend and 3 damage, and has crit 2 hits. Which is all that's interesting, but obviously it's not doing mortals. Just because we're talking about it, I'm going to look down at the shooting phase ability. So it's once per turn army, any shooting phase. So you could pull this before you use a covering fire, I guess. Yeah, let's see. Pick a visible enemy unit within 15 inches of this unit to be the target. Roll a dice. If the roll is equal to or less than that unit's health characteristic, so you could even do it on a unit with health characteristic 1, though it's not likely. For the rest of the phase, you can re-roll failed hit rolls for attacks made by this unit that target that enemy unit. Okay. That's a weird one because it's only the rest of the phase. So obviously in your own turn, you do it anyway just because why not? And it automatically goes off on anything with a health characteristic of 6 or more because then it's going to be equal to or less than the health characteristic. And then for that phase, you can reroll failed hit rolls. So basically you're getting crit 2 hits, which functionally puts it up to 2s in terms of weight of dice, but obviously you don't have that many dice to make that always balance out. So crit 2 hits and you're re-rolling on that target if you get this thing off, which if you shoot a big target will always happen. And then you've got wounding on 3s, 2 damage, or 2 rend, 3 damage. I mean, you could do up to 12 damage, obviously, or even more with crit 2 hits, technically. I wouldn't count on that, obviously, but it's fine. I think I kind of like the Horde spell, but this one's obviously better at targeting big targets. Because with that amount of attacks and damage, you're not going to do as much against the Hordes. I mean, I don't know. If you went into a block of 40 zombies and you're rolling 5s, then, you're doing quite a bit of damage there. Anyway, okay, so back to the melee profiles of what they used to be. Used to have the Bloodwrack Spear and Whisper Claw and the Shrine Keeper's Goad Staves, but they've been combined now. So the main profile was 5 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1, 2. So it looks like we just kept that profile, but instead of the Shrine Keeper's Goad Staves being 6 attacks, 3s, 4s, no rend, 1, they just added 3 extra attacks to the main profile, which is nice because mathematically it comes out to the same amount of output, actually a little bit higher, just swingier, because 6 attacks with 1 damage is functionally the same thing as 3 attacks, 2 damage, is just swingier. And of course the profile with 1 extra point of rend than what the Shrine Keepers used to have is an upgrade. So I see this as at least a lateral move, if not an upgrade. But again, I don't know that this thing's supposed to be in combat. I mean, it's certainly not going to be bad. At 12 health, 4 up save, 6 up ward, it's going to survive a good bit longer than Krethusa will. But anyway, so we've already looked at the shooting phase Bloodwrack Stare ability that was on the old War Scroll. Let's look at the other 2 abilities. So we had an any charge phase Bladed Impact. I think that's on all of the big buff wagons, the shrines. If this unit charges this phase, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch to be a target, roll a d3, do that much damage. Okay, fine. And then we had a Your Hero Phase ability, which was Aura of Agony. Pick up to 3 different enemy units within 9 of this unit to be the targets, roll a d3 on a 2+, do that much damage. So you had a bunch of ways to do kind of mortals. She had the Bloodwrack Stare, she had the Hero Phase one, but it has to be different enemy units within 9, so it kind of means she wanted to go get up in someone's business. And then the impact hits, which again, she's not that fast, so whether the shrine would be able to control that she's going to be the one charging in seems a little bit maybe weaker. Right now, I'm not all that convinced by the War Scroll just yet, because the improvement in melee stuff, or maybe lateral move there, but mainly improvement, and then the arguable improvement of the shooting attack, depending on who you're shooting. The only thing I'm really seeing here that's really impressing me thus far is the Wizard 2. But let's look at the big spell here. Now, she didn't have a War Scroll spell before, so now we have one. Your Hero Phase, Reflected Agony, make a casting roll. Okay, until the start of your next turn, enemy units and enemy manifestations cannot be set up within 12 of this unit. Okay. Yeah, I'm not all that crazy about that. I mean, not setting up a manifestation within 12, it just pushing that. Well, okay, for a manifestation with a movement characteristic, that's only pushing it 3 inches further out. For a manifestation with no movement characteristic, it's pushing it 12 inches out. Obviously, that's good. So if you don't want like a shackles coming and messing up your thing, then this is a great way to deter that. Granted, this spell is only going to be able to go off on one Bloodwrack Shrine, so taking multiples and trying to create all these bubbles of manifestation hate is not going to be a thing. It's only going to be the one chariot base that's projecting this 12-inch bubble. And I mean, it's great that she's got two spells now, so you could always have this one on if you really like it, and then still do what she used to do. Um, and then enemy units not being able to set up within 12. Same thing for Deep Strike. That's I guess I could have said that along with the manifestations with the movement characteristic. And if anything said that it could be set up within something smaller than 9 inches, like 6 or something, like the Stormcast. I think the Stormcast Army of Renown lets Annihilators drop in really close by. That would get overruled by this rule. So they would be forced outside 12, but you just don't see that kind of thing much. So it's basically adding +3 to people's setup range. That said, I don't know how many units are trying to set up around this, and she's not fast enough to go screen something out. I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on that rule. Does anyone have a really strong opinion about it? This is a weird update for this War Scroll. I think I still like the old one better, despite the fact that it was only level 1. I don't know. And even that didn't get taken all that much. In Daughters, you actually don't have that many casters if you're not taking Marathi. So the Bloodwrack models, this one and the on foot one, were your two best bets. Or you could take Doomfire Warlocks. If I'm not mistaken, they're still wizards, and they were mobile wizards, which is kind of cool. But the army mainly focuses on prayers, which is why we're getting a prayer lord today. Anyway, I've spent enough time talking about this stuff. Let me know what you guys think down below. All right, so I mentioned the prayer lore, so let's talk about it. Actually, let's talk about the battle formations because they're going to be really fast. So we've got Coven Zealots and Arena Veterans. They both are kind of centered around the melee, killy but very fragile. That seems to be a thing in this edition. Thus far, we saw, or at least in these updates, with Tzeentch, with the Kyric Acolytes, we saw a build that they're kind of leaning towards where they're going to do a lot of damage from them. We saw that with Namarti. In fact, I'm going to play a game on stream against Kai from Threshold Tactics on Sunday, actually. We're going to live stream that, where I'll be playing a Namarti build against this Skaven build. Both of us using new models and rules just because we can. It'll be more for fun because we don't know what the balance of the points are going to be. And then we're seeing this as well. So maybe this is like a direction they're trying to send things for the game in general, or maybe it's just that they're trying to boost some builds that haven't been popular, because we really have not seen a horde infantry like glass cannon units being used as much in this edition. It's been largely really durable, big blocks of things that can pile on buffs and, wipe whole things out in one go. These can also do it, but they don't take a punch back well. But anyway, let's get into it. So Coven Zealots, once per turn army, end of any turn, so that's going to be 10 times per game max. Return D3 slain models to each friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry unit. So this is obviously built around spamming witch elves or Sisters of Slaughter. And they basically become clan rats. That's not bad. They're way better in combat than clan rats are. I'm curious what the current points cost are for those units, because I haven't looked at them in a while. I know people keep trying to make the list work, but I don't know how successful that's been. So we've got two different versions of each one, depending on whether they're more defensive or offensive. So if we look at, let's see, Sisters of Slaughter are either 110, 120. Again, with current points, that could change. And Witch Elves are 100 or 110. So we're looking at anywhere between 100 and 120 for 10. Of course, you're getting 20 clan rats for 150. So in terms of just pure bodies, clan rats have more, but these do way more damage if you get the buffs off on them. So, I mean, that's really fun. If you're spamming it, you just know you're bringing them back as long as you don't let the unit die. Okay. And then Arena Veterans, any combat phase, including that of your opponent. For the rest of the phase, friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry units have a 5+ ward until they have used a fight ability. Yeah. So I'm trying to think about how you would time this. What you'd want to do is, well, so there's a part of me that says to maximize use of this rule, you would try to have other units that maybe don't qualify for this or can, you can activate first to make sure that you only activate your elf infantry units last so they have the 5+ ward for all the stuff that's going to slap back. That said, sometimes the best defense is a good offense, right? And if they're as killy as they are, which they are, then what you're doing is you'd rather probably just remove a bunch of stuff so that the slapback inherently is less severe. And they've always got a 6+ ward anyway, so it's just doubling the amount of wounds that are absorbed by the ward, going from a 1 out of 6 chance to a 2 out of 6 chance. So I guess maybe the thought here too is that you say, well, I'm going to attack with my best, the best defense is a good offense unit first, and then I hope that if the other ones don't get to fight before, and in the sequencing doesn't work out in my favor, that at least they're more protected with this 5+ ward. So it's more something to keep you alive and keep you in the fight. Personally, I think I like the 5+ ward better than I like bringing the slain models back, but someone let me know what you think. I guess it depends on your build, but they're both kind of centered around the same types of units. So, and that would also, by the way, apply to your heroes. I'm pretty sure that applies to Marathi as well. Out of curiosity, just double check Little Marathi. She has, I want to say, just a 6+ ward. Yeah, so this is in improving her ward as well. That's nice. Helps maybe stave off the taking the 3 wounds. So that could be a thing. And Krethusa would also be getting this, right? Because she's infantry as well. Cool. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. And don't forget, the Daughters has a battle trait for a once per game command ability per unit to be able to fight twice. That's All Out Slaughter. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine infantry unit that is in combat to use this ability. That unit can use 2 fight abilities this turn. After the first is used, this unit strike lasts for the rest of the turn. Yeah, I mean, you'd have used a fight ability already, so then you wouldn't have the ward for the rest. But I don't know. It's just something worth keeping in mind that they have that going on as well. Okay, so last but not least, the prayer lore. And what I want to do is always, even though we now know that you can buy a prayer, like a second enhancement or whatever, we're assuming that you could pick a whole second prayer lore, but we haven't seen those rules fleshed out, but they have talked about it in one of the GHB hints or whatever. But anyway, I like to cover what the other spells are or other prayers are first, and then talk about what we're getting now. But because the unlimited prayer is directly comparable to the other one, because obviously if you have multiple priests, you're going to be able to get the unlimited prayer off multiple times, so it's good to directly compare those two. So the old prayer lore, the current index one, was Sacrament of Blood. It goes off on a 5 and triggers for the bonus on a 10. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest, chant this prayer. Pick a visible friendly Daughters of Khaine unit holier than 12. Until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the current battle round number when determining which effects of the Blood Rites ability apply to the target. If you got a 10+, until the start of your next turn, treat the current battle round as number 5. So it's not adding 1, it's pushing you all the way to the end. And this is your unlimited prayer, which, for those that don't know, the thing it's referencing is that they have a sort of increasing set of buffs. Battle round 1 is +1 to run. Battle round 2 is +1 to charge as well. They all stack. Battle round 3 is +1 to hit for combat only. Battle round 4 was +1 to wound for combat only. And battle round 5 was +1 attacks for melee. So it's all melee oriented. If you had any shooting, it's not really helping. Unless maybe you had run and shoot and then +1 to run is helping. But I don't think they do. So, yeah. So obviously getting the bonus ability doesn't have an impact from battle round 4 on, because it pushes you. It would have just pushed you 1 higher anyway, and you're already there. And if I'm not mistaken, some of the war scrolls can push it up 1 anyway, but I could be wrong about that. But that's definitely how it used to work. So the unlimited prayer now is Shadow Step. It goes off on a 3. The bonus one is on an 8. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest, and a visible friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry. So everything seems to be focused on that elf infantry unit, holier than 12 of them, and that has not been picked to be the target of this prayer this turn to be a target. Okay? The target can move up to 6 inches. It can move through the combat ranges of enemy units, but cannot end that move in combat. If the chanting roll was an 8+, you could pick another eligible unit to be a second target, even though it's an unlimited spell or prayer, which would mean that in theory you could do this to all your units if you had enough priests. Now you can get a twofer, if you will, by making it go off on an 8. And getting a 6-inch move that lets you move through combat ranges but not in combat range is good. And remember that on elf infantry. I was going to say that the flying units, the harpies, the Kinnerai, would be able to fly through those as well, but they don't. They're not elf. So this is again focused on the Sisters of Slaughter and witch elves mainly. Is this better than the other one? I don't know. I mean, getting 6 extra inches of move for possibly 2 units is nice because it's a hero phase move. You can kind of move up or just around a unit. Even if you're in combat, you would be able to move through it. There's some tech here, I think. And then, of course, they're getting their normal move shenanigans and whatever. So, pretty cool. I'm curious about I don't remember if the army has a teleport, but at least you'd have Soul Scream Bridge. I think there is a teleport in one of the formations. But because this isn't a move ability, I'm not 100% sure if a setup would stop you from being able to use this. Because if a lot of times, Soul Scream Bridge would be in your movement phase, so no. But I can't remember what the exact wording is. But if it says that you can't move period and not in like rules bold move, just move after a setup, then you're not going to be able to stack these. You could do it this first and then do the setup, but that would be kind of a waste. But if for some reason it says a move ability with keyword move, then you would be able to stack them. So I'd have to double check that. But anyway, that's the first thing that goes through my mind there. Otherwise, I'm not that crazy about this prayer. But maybe, I guess getting up the field is good. That's always good. It's like a pregame move or helping you get there. And especially for these fragile, what do they move? 6 inches units. It's very good to give them a way to get up the field to make sure they're delivering what they need to be delivering. They're, have a delivery mechanism for their really scary attacks. Obviously paired with like a strike first, if you can get that somewhere, is really nice to help protect them. Okay, let's look at the other old prayers that we had. So we had the existing ones. Coven of the Iron Heart. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest and pick a visible friendly Daughters of Khaine unit holier than 12 again. Ignore negative modifiers to the target's control score until the start of your next turn. Boo, who cares? And in addition, if the chanting roll is 8+, add 5 to the control score. Not very convincing. I bet that one didn't get cast a whole lot unless people were just trying to... I'd probably just use it to bank my points if I was looking for an extra prayer to do, because we don't have like random prayers we can do that you wouldn't... I don't know. Yeah, like maybe you would run out of prayers and the only one you've got left is the unlimited one. But now that we've got a 2-level priest, it's kind of nice. And then the last one is Martyrs. Did that one have? Yeah, on an 8+, you were adding to the control score. Okay. And the last one is Martyr's Sacrifice. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest and a visible friendly Daughters of Khaine unit holier than 12, so everything's 12. Until the start of your next turn, each time a model in the target unit is slain by a combat attack before removing the model from play, pick an enemy unit in combat with the target and roll a dice. If the chanting roll was an 8+, roll 2 dice instead of 1 for each 5+. Inflict 1 mortal damage on that enemy unit after the fight ability has been resolved. Okay. Yeah, so you're basically got like... We don't really have fight on death much in the game, but this is kind of what it's been replaced by, is like splashback, like vengeance mortal damage, if you will. And so... if you got that on a unit, and this isn't an unlimited spell, so you don't even have it on one, you think they're probably going to die, or that the Sisters of Slaughter and Witch Elves die pretty quickly, then what you're thinking here is, and when you move one of those, I'm looking at the exact wording here. Sometimes when this happens, it has to be in combat with the target, or with the model, but it doesn't say that. It says in combat with the target, which would be the target unit. And so as long as it stays in combat, you're getting to do it. So even if you're strung out and a good chunk of your models aren't within 3 inches of their models anymore, you're still getting to do this. You're rolling 1 or 2 dice in every 5 up. So like if your whole unit of 20 Witch Elves died and you had this on, then you would be rolling 40 dice and then on a 5 up. I mean, that's not bad. That's like that anti-horde against a block of 40 zombies I was talking about. But yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, your models are going to die, but maybe that helps with bringing D3 back, or Krethusa's thing of bringing half a unit back, or whatever. Okay, but let's look at the other two new prayers. We already looked at Shadow Step, which lets you do a 6-inch move. We've also got Scathe Scale that goes off on a 3, and the bonus is on an 8. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry unit holier than 12. So basically same idea. Until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from wound rolls for combat attacks that target that friendly unit. That's nice. If the chanting roll was 8+, until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from wound rolls for combat attacks that target friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry units while they're holier than 12 into the target. Interesting. So instead of projecting a bubble from the caster or the priest themselves, it's projecting it off of that unit. So that unit goes in. It's got protection, -1 to wound, and then it could be that your whole, like a good chunk of your army at least, these big blocks, maybe you put it on the middle one, and the other 2 blocks stay holier than 12, and then flank something. Then you're getting -1 to wound on everything. I think that's implicitly better than pretty much the other 2 prayers I saw in the prayer lore. By the way, obviously I didn't cover Murderlust because that is in fact a spell, so good to know. But obviously great for the Bloodwrack Medusa in general, being a 2-caster now. And then our last one is Exaltation of Murder. It goes off on a 4 and procs, if you will, on a 9. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry unit holier than 12. Until the start of your next turn, add 1 to wound rolls to the target's combat attacks. But that was also something you get in Battle Round 4. In addition, the chanting rolls a 9+ until the start of next turn, add 1 to the attacks characteristic. Okay, interesting. So it's kind of emulating Battle Rounds 4 and 5 from the Blood Rites table, right? Is that right? Let me double check. Battle Round 4 was, in fact, +1 to wound. So remember, you can't ever have more than a net gain of +1 on a to wound stack or to hit to wound roll or to hit roll, +1, -1. But if you did manage to have Battle Round 4 in play and you had this in play, then what you would have is a +1 and ignoring a -1 to wound if someone had that somewhere, kind of like you do on Scathe Scale. But mostly, I could see you want to do this for the extra attacks. So you would be going, in Battle Round 5, you'd be going up to +2 attacks. So just for reference, and I could be forgetting, there might be yet another way. Let me look at Mind Razor one more time, because that's such an important... it's +1 to Rin and +1 damage, man. But you're looking at, like, let's say Witch Elves or Sisters Slaughter. I think Sisters are a little bit more brutal with, let's say, with the knives. They each have 3 attacks anyway, and then you're bumping it up to 5 in Battle Round 5 and with this on. And then double damage and +1 rend and +1 against infantry. So you're looking at like 5 attacks times 20 is 101 attacks at 3s, maybe 2s with all attack. Or just with the battle round implicitly. 2s, 3s to wound, -2 rend, 2 damage. I mean, that's just insane. But obviously it's one of those kind of like Death Stars that you're trying to set up. So the real question is, this not being an unlimited spell like or prayer like the other one was. Remember, the other one that pushed you higher up in the Blood Rites table was unlimited. Went off on a 5 or a 10, so a little hard to get off. Harder than any of the ones here. Which is such a great ability. And this is kind of emulating it, right? This ability here, but you can only put it on 1 unit. I don't know. Daughters of Khaine players, let me know what you think. Would you rather have the unlimited prayer that can boost you 1 round? How often was that actually going off? It was a little hard to get off. Would you trade these? I mean, also, if you look at this, every single one of these prayers only works with elf infantry units. So it's really forcing you down elf infantry, not even Doomfire Warlocks, no Kinnerai, no Melusai. You're looking at like a build. That's clearly what the message is here with this update. Both of the battle formations are infantry oriented, and I think the index lores and rules were more flexible with what you could choose to put them on. And then obviously looking down here, she really likes infantry, but also a little bit cavalry. This is Krethusa, also with bringing back a unit. And then the Bloodwrack Shrine, doesn't seem to particularly interact with that in one way or the other. But yeah, this is very much a go get 'em girls kind of vibe for the Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter. I'm curious what everyone thinks about it. It seems pretty killy. I mean, it was already something that everyone was trying to make work in even 4th edition index rules. And then sometimes, they had their great matchups, but sometimes they were just getting shut down, and they couldn't, either recur back fast enough or stay alive fast enough. Hence these two battle formations. So let me know what you guys think. What have I missed here? Always interested in if I missed something really obvious, especially for the seasoned players that know their rules in and out. But yeah, tomorrow is maybe Seraphon. If so, we'll get Jonas on, and who knows? Whatever it is, it's going to be fun. Thank you guys for checking this out. I'll see you next time. Ryan out.